Hey everyone, welcome to Taste Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about tonight? We're talking about Nintendo suing another person. That's what they're sue happy. They like to sue all the time. So let me whip this out here real quick. So there's Bowser there to sue you. So Nintendo sues Reddit mod for 4.5 million. It says nowhere near enough money for the harm caused. Before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get into this article. On Reddit, there's a community dedicated to privacy on the Nintendo Switch with more than 238,000 subscribers and thousands of active users at any given moment. The subreddit encourages fans to support their favorite developers financially, but anyone who frequents it could, in theory, find piracy resources on how to illicitly obtain games for the Nintendo Portable. The Japanese company isn't just standing by. Nintendo's not just standing by and allowing privacy to happen out in the open. In early October, Nintendo filed a motion against one James Archbox Williams, Mr. Archbox himself, an alleged community leader who copied, distributed, and promoted Nintendo Switch privacy to a wide audience. In retaliation, Nintendo is seeking 4.5 million in damages from Williams. The number is somewhat speculative in the sense that Nintendo is not arguing that the company suffered 4.5 million in losses. Rather, it arrived at that number by looking at similar cases like the one involving Bungie and Cheat Makers, where the Washington-based company was awarded millions in damages. Here is the amount of money sufficient to remedy NOA, Nintendo of America's injury. Would be extremely difficult to quantify, but it is indisputable that such amount, stupid ad, would be large. The filing reads, therefore, the money at stake by this motion is nowhere near an amount that would compensate Nintendo of America for the seriousness of defendant's conduct. The filing claims that Williams sent thousands of messages on Reddit to other users, directing them to piracy websites, at times offering technical support for issues fans might encounter while attempting to mod their Switch. Williams reportedly asked for donations of Nintendo eShop gift cards in exchange for his services. The Japanese company believes that Williams created, operated, supported, and promoted piracy websites that allowed users to download extensive libraries of Nintendo Switch games. In the lawsuit, Nintendo also says that it attempted to work with Williams by sending a cease and desist letter back in March of 2024. In it, Nintendo urged Williams to shut down his pirate shops. While Williams initially seemed receptive, Nintendo alleges that progress came to a halt as Williams denied involvement with any piracy shop and apparently became combative. Eventually, Williams apparently deleted his online post that could imply culpability. Yeah, and it just goes in talking about Nintendo fighting different stuff, and Nintendo has elected not to seek statutory damages for Williams, DMCA, anti-trafficking violations, and even though such damages could be several million dollars, the filing reads, as a further gesture of reasonableness, NOA also has elected not to pursue recovery of its attorneys' fees and costs to which it is entitled. Aren't they special? Aren't they just so nice? So yeah, I mean, this is not the first time that Nintendo's done this type of stuff. Won't be the first, won't be the last. And the thing about Nintendo is they are sue happy. Let me tell you. I understand. I get it. Wanting to, make sure their intellectual properties, their IPs are not taken from. I don't know. I feel like, especially recently, like I don't know if it's just more in the news or whatever, but Nintendo is like become like that angry old grandpa. It's like the whole yelling at the clouds. Like they are so happy, like in every which way. Like they'll sue you, they'll bitch you out, they'll kick you off their lawn, they'll run you out of the city if you say anything bad about you know Nintendo or do anything at all, modding or anything like that. And we know piracy is and can be an issue, and it's always been an issue out there with things getting pirated and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Like, if it's not Williams, it's going to be somebody else, right? Um, Ultimately. But I guess if it is somebody else, then they're just going to sue them for however many millions of dollars. So I don't know, Patrick. What do you think about Nintendo's lowering up for this?
I mean, Nintendo is being nice, right? They're not seeking to pursue recovery of the attorney's fees. They're also not seeking statutory damages. So I mean, they're trying to be nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're nice.
I mean, I don't know much about this community in Reddit, and I don't know much about this person Williams, and what he was actually doing in the site. If Nintendo's right, he was telling people how to obtain games illegally, or actually downloading them and providing them to them illegally.
And getting I mean, he wasn't asking to be paid for the
Right,
services, but he
right.
was taking donations.
Oh,
So,
okay. So I
yeah.
mean, and Nintendo claims that he deleted posts and stuff like that, and they're saying that proves culpability. It could be just like the guy's scared and just deleting everything he can so he doesn't get in trouble, and then who knows? I mean, maybe the guy talked to a lawyer and he's like, "Hey, Nintendo really doesn't have anything on this," but we know that Nintendo typically wins these cases. Just ask Mr. Bowser himself, who is spending a lot of time in jail and will never be able to keep money himself. That's always going to go back to Nintendo, because I think he lost like $5 million or something like that. I can't remember how much it was, or maybe just under. I don't remember. I thought it was like $5 million they sued Bowser for, or whatever. They got it. So, but I can't remember on that one. So, but he was like selling. So he was actually selling things. So this guy sounds like he was just leading the horse to water, telling him how to do the information or delivering files to them, which is piracy. And it's hard, as much as Nintendo is a greedy bastard, because they never put shit on sale. And when they do put shit on sale, it's like, here's a $60 game. We're taking $5 off. It's been out for 5 years. Have fun. It's $1 for every year. It's been on thousands. Nintendo sales are a joke. And they always have been. And it's hard. The best way to get a deal on a Switch game is to buy a cart from GameStop, which still makes it relevant. I mean, but they're still only selling like a $60 game for $45 or $50. They're still just as bad. They make sure they're under the cost of a new one and under the cost of the Nintendo game sale, but they're still high because they know people will buy them, right? Nintendo does make good stuff, and nobody's arguing that, I don't think. There are probably people out there who just like them enough that that'll be the hill they die on. But, um, so I, I I don't really, I really can't say anything in this guy's defense if he really was doing all of that. I have to take this article's word for it because I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know anything about the subreddit, and I do read Reddit a lot, but I had no clue about the subreddit. So it's funny, but Nintendo will. I mean, you have to protect your IPs, or else you run the risk of losing them, right? You run the risk of the protection of, hey, I have this patent, I have this as mine. If I don't go after everybody who abuses that, then eventually it just comes free market, or they're gonna be like, hey, why didn't you go after this person who's made $20 million selling this, and I've only asked for donations? um, it would just it would be like it would be like YouTube having to stop all game reviewers reviewing games with game footage, right? it would be like that. If they don't protect their IP and people just start posting whatever they want and they come after them 10 years later, that would be like YouTube coming down the road 10 years later saying you can't show game trailers anymore because that's copyright protected. How much would that hurt their business where you can't show clips of things and things like that? Music is one of those things that is a little bit, more of a pretentious thing. You can't even really play 5 seconds worth of music without getting in trouble on YouTube. It doesn't, for whatever reason, like movies and TV shows and video games fall under that free use category where you can talk about an anime episode or a video game while you're playing the game in the background on the screen, and it's not a problem. But the music is, don't play 5 seconds worth of music, even if you're talking over it and trying to critique it. Don't do that. For some reason that happens. That's a problem. I know there are some creators out there that somehow get around it, like the Golden Voice Girl or whatever reviews stuff like that. And I'm just like, hey, this guy played 5 seconds of that audio before and got completely shut down.
Right.
But
I mean, there's a lot of reaction channels, that people react to music,
hearing songs
or whatever. And some of those reaction channels, or people that react to that stuff, they will listen to like a song from start to finish,
and you're just
without
like,
saying a word, and then just comment at the end. And I'm like, how did that not get like copyrights? It's been up for like a week now, and it hasn't been copyright struck or nothing.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, so the longer stuff like that goes on, the harder it is to protect that IP, right? And that's what I'm just trying to say about Nintendo is the longer they let something go on, the harder it will become protected, because it spreads like wildfire. We're like, well, that guy's been doing it for 5 years and he's not in trouble, so I'm going to do it. Or he's been doing it for a year or two, he's not in trouble, I'm going to do it. And then it just becomes this wildfire that spreads. Then lawyers get involved, and now they're behind the curve. And I'm not saying anything about Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar company. They have plenty of money, but at the same time, I also believe that you should pay for the games that you want to enjoy, even if it's a sale. Wait for it to go on sale. You're still contributing, and it's legit and legal. That's the way it should be going. But I am not crying anything for Nintendo's sake for them losing a little bit of revenue, but I also have really I have no strong opinion one way or the other about this guy. I'm like, hey, he's doing something he shouldn't have been doing. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that game's kind of expensive.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm kind of just sitting in the middle, like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's like, so I'm not in the position where I feel like he's a Robin Hood of any kind, where he's stealing from the big bad company and delivering everything to the smaller, the poorer people, the people who can't afford to buy a Nintendo game, because Nintendo games are expensive. I'm not going to talk that they are. They never go on sale. Nintendo is horrible about pulling older copies and creating a bundle, and you can only get the older copies. You have to buy the bundle, which is like expensive again. Once the game starts creeping down in price, it's like, hey, this $60 game is now $40, and we're going to discontinue it. We're going to re-release it in a package, and it's back up to $60, $70, right? That's what Nintendo does. So it's hard to feel bad for Nintendo. It's also hard to feel bad for this Williams guy if what Nintendo is saying is true. Like, I can't say yes or no. I've not seen what he's been doing. I can't. It's not as clear cut as like what they were talking about, the cheaters and the EA stuff, and all those guys, because that was clear. The guy had a website selling kits, that you could go on and buy these and subscribe. It was like a one-time buy too. It was like a monthly subscription for these cheating services, right? So that's a little bit more clear cut in my opinion. But this is like a lot of happenstance and hearsay, in my opinion, until we can see what comes out. But if the guy really did delete stuff, then it is what it is. But I like I don't know if you saw the first comment on that article as you were reading through it, but the guy makes a point that I think is funny. It's a fallacy, but it's a funny point. He says, I'll say it again, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. I mean, it's funny.
That's true.
I agree, but technically you're leasing, so you can't steal you can't steal something that you're supposed to lease.
Yeah.
There's no squatting laws here for video games, so, so I mean,
but I mean, like, for the other way around, like,
right.
it shouldn't be leasing it, right? If you're paying for
I
the
should own it. I
product, you
should
should
buying
own
for it
it.
because I'm not buying it.
Right.
I'm leasing it.
And
Is really
for
what you're doing.
$70 to lease something, that's insane, right?
It's an indefinite lease until they decide to
Until
revoke
they
it,
decide to revoke it, right?
or shut it down, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't own it. No, I don't own it like I used to own a cart.
I think they said like they had an advertisement for Silent Hill F on the Xbox that said that in the advertisement it said you are buying a license to this game to play this game.
Right.
In the ad for it, which is true, but it's like it's insane that it's like, hey, just a reminder, you're only buying a license to play this,
right?
Which that again sucks, because then we have again that goes into a different direction, but then we talk about preservation in gaming, right? And
there is no such thing, right?
Right.
I think there was a whole thing about, like the UK and other countries are trying to do that with legislation about making a game always available if somebody buys it, but us in the US, I mean, capitalism has its good and bad things, right? Capitalism believes in free markets and all this stuff, which means the government's not going to get involved. They're not going to have regulation. Then this is one of those things where the free market kind of hurts us as consumers because these companies can just do whatever the hell they want. They want to push.
Right.
I mean, what was that game was it Ubisoft? What was that? Was it Concord? Is that the name of that game that they put out for like a week?
Yeah, that was Sony and
Sony,
Firewalk, or Fireaxis, I think, studios.
I was trying to think of the one. Yeah, but the game was called Concord, right?
Yeah.
Died within a week of it coming out. I mean, now they obviously did the right thing and they refunded all the money. But what if that game lasted 3 months or a month and you're like, hey, I want my money back. I'm like, no, we released it for 3 months. There's nothing that says they have to give you your money back that I'm aware of. But even the Square Enix one that lasted a year, I think died like right at a year. They didn't refund people's money, and I'm like, I expected to have a live service if you bought it. Not me.
Right.
We all played it for like a day, and we're like, this is garbage. Move on.
Yeah.
But if you buy it for a year and you play it, and you're like, hey, I expected this game to last 5, 6, 10 years, and I didn't get that money's worth out of it that I felt was my money's worth. You have no recourse. You have no consumer protection. Like they should do something like make the game, if they have to cancel a game or shut a game down, the source code should become public, in my opinion, because you are shutting down the ability for others to play the game.
I should allow others to create private servers and run the game off those.
But they don't want to do that. They're like, no, we may want to revise it or revise this or revitalize this game in a year, 2 years, or 5 years. So we say no.
Right.
So I bought something, got a year's worth of time out of it, or 6 months.
And then when it comes out, you revitalize it 5, 10 years later, I'm going to have to buy it again.
Right, exactly. Because
you're not going to give me that version saying, oh, you owned the previous one we shut down. Here's the new version. You're just going to be like, hey, we got a new version, but you can go buy it.
The gaming industry is scared because typically when modders and gamers get a hold of things, the code and source code, they make it better than what the original developers did because it's crowdsourced, right? You cannot compare a group of developers being forced to develop something to a group of people developing something for the love of something, right?
Right.
There's a different touch to something. Like the people who are making like the Fallout London and all that stuff, and things like that. Those games are gorgeous and lovely, and it's a labor of love, not a labor of I need to put this out to make money because my company is driving me, to this finish line.
Well, it's kind of like Expedition 33 and Sandfall, right? That was the whole thing with them. Like they wanted to just they all had the passion to want to make something, right? And they're an independent studio, not not owned by a big publisher or anything like that. And so they were just like, this is what we want to do. And so you could tell when you played that game that the passion and love for game development was put into that. Same thing with like even bigger studios like Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios, right? I mean, you can tell the passion and love they put into their games. Like they enjoy what they're doing, right? Instead of it being like, this is what we're making next, which it almost feels like that's kind of like, I don't want to talk for the people there, but that almost feels like Call of Duty, right? With Treyarch and Raven and Sledgehammer Games. Like those studios have got to be so fatigued at making Call of Duty every single year.
or
you
Assassin's
know,
Creed either.
or yeah, or even like Assassin's Creed and you know stuff like that. Like I mean, it's got to be like the people at those studios are probably just jonesing to make something different, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's why every Call of Duty or every Assassin's Creed is the same as the last, right? Because you can't, um, you know, it's just it becomes monotonous for the individuals that work there to have to build the same damn game every time they make it, right? And that's how you get that stale gameplay. That's how you get that those stale games where people are like, you know.
Right. Because could you imagine that, let's say Nintendo started releasing games to PC? Let's just say that. Could you imagine how much fun modders would have with Zelda?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just
The
imagine.
limitless like crap they would do to Zelda.
Right. Or Mario or Donkey Kong or any of them, because every
I could think like
people.
modded Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
That would be insane.
It would be amazing because somebody would put out there a pristine Unreal 6 engine graphics for that game,
Yeah.
and it would just be beautiful.
Someone would
And
probably take it and recreate like some of the old ones like Oracle of or I mean like
Ocarina of Time or Mask
Ocarina
of
of
Majora,
Time or yeah, you know what any of the old ones and like
or even A Link to the Past, or any
yeah,
of
Link to the
those.
Past, just like all that, you know, or just a brand new adventure. Like
Uh-huh.
people be creating like a whole like kind of like what you say with Fallout London, where it's the
Mm-hmm.
overhaul mods, where it's
Yep.
just like a whole brand new game, you
Right.
know?
Built on top of the other one. Yeah.
Right,
So, I mean, listen, I think the gamers themselves can be a problem, but I also think that your games exist because of the love of games from gamers, right? I mean,
right,
we all want to play this. We all can't afford to play this. So I know it's a business to make money, but at the same time, I feel I'm torn on this. I don't agree with piracy because as much as everybody tries to say like piracy is a victimless crime and things like that, a corporation has people. Those people need to get paid to make stuff they make, and if a corporation loses money, then they can't afford to pay those employees. They go out the door, even though the corporation could probably still do it. They just have a bottom line to hit. They need to be in the
right,
black. If they go in the red, people go. Um, but I also want everybody who wants to play the game to get a chance to play the game. So it's a torn thing, that company needs to make money. They need to pay to feed their employees, but that other person, you know, I almost wish that the, there almost needs to be like a gaming charity organization or something like it's like, hey, we get to buy these games and we'll sell them at discounts to, people who prove whatever, that you're in the lower income brackets or something, there's got to
right,
be something out there. There's got to be better ways to prevent piracy than just suing the hell out of everybody, because that guy is never going to give them $4.5 million. He's never going to have it. It's just making an example out of him to stop other people from doing it. Scare tactic, which is fine. But Nintendo is too happy. And if you're going to mess with any company out there, don't do it to Nintendo stuff, because
right.
they're going to rake you over the coals, and you're going to be Bowser 2.0, So you just don't do it. I don't know. There's got to be a better way out there to help those less fortunate play games. It's not a necessity, so this country won't help out in any way. And even think about the way this country works that we live in. They do help, but a very limited. If you're starving and hungry, the best you can hope for from the government is to get on our food stamp SNAP program, whatever it is in your local area. And then the rest of the support comes from your community, like food banks and things like that, not the government. I think food banks do more benefit than like the government does and things like that, because they're helping the people. And you know, if you need services like that, I think communities are better at distributing it and getting it out there than the government is, because the government, let's be honest, the government fucks shit up more often than they do anything right.
Right.
No matter who is in power, I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever. The government just fucks shit up. They just get in and, you know, they're the pigeons. They just come in, swoop in, shit all over everything, and then swoop out and leave it a mess. You know, that's what they do. You know, they don't ever get it right the first time, the first 6 times. Occasionally they'll get something right. Something will be like, this somehow worked out.
Right.
You know, and I don't know what happened. What was the magic dust of the secret formula that made this work? Because they made this work, but then everything else is just shit. You know, at least in this country, I feel like every time we just chatted not too long ago, you go watch the past episode about them, you know, other countries regulating, protecting children and just make it so generic that these companies fuck it up. And they're like, that's not what we meant. What did you mean? Because you didn't tell me specific. You just generically said protect the children. Right. Yeah. So I don't know the answer here. I do think that as much as I hate what I just said, you know, I do think that there needs to be some oversight to protect the consumers in this industry. This industry is one of the leading industries in the world and this country for making revenue, that their consumer protections aren't in place. About the only consumer protection I think is in place was a consumer protection that the gaming industry put on themselves before the government stepped in, and that's the ESRB.
Right.
Just to tell you if this game's safe for children or not, you know, or age. There is not really anything that says you can't do this with the game. You can't put out this game. Well, we'll use Microsoft example. You can't put out a service and increase your prices twice in a year.
Right.
I mean, there's no protection. There needs to be some protection, like cost increases need X amount of time notice of increase. There needs to be protection about games and ownership. There's got to be something about ownership. This whole leasing garbage and not owning a damn thing that you buy is garbage. If I don't own what I am buying, then why am I paying you $70, $80 for a game? To me, that's unrealistic lease for something that I may play for a month.
Right.
You know, so if it really is leasing, let me sign a term commitment. I'll give you $10 for 30 days, and then you can fuck off with that $10. You know, if that's the way you want to play it, we'll lease and terms this shit up big time, and you'll be on the losing end of that shit stick.
Right. They don't want, you know, they want their cake and eat it too, type of thing. So
they want to charge you full price, call it a lease, and then but have full control. Which,
right.
Yeah. So it is what it is, and this topic is a sticky subject. I don't feel bad. Unfortunately, for Nintendo, I don't really feel bad for this William guy. I do hope, you know, I don't know if what Nintendo's saying is the truth or not. But, you know, if they're not telling the truth, then I hope that he gets away with whatever he was doing and Nintendo can just suck it up because they're lying and too happy. But I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other because honestly, I'm not in those circles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. So, we'll see what happens. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I think this subject is about to go off the rails if we keep going.
All right. Well, let us know down in the comments below. What do you think of all this? You know, Nintendo and this Reddit mod piracy stuff. You know, give us your take on things. But other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us out. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us get our numbers up. You know, the more subscriptions, the more we can do with all sorts of things. You know, more videos, more content, and stuff like that. So, but anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.